good news, guys. This film was lambasted for its screenplay, acting, direction, casting, effects, editing, action sequences, story, unfaithfulness to the source materials, characters, and 3D conversion.
That's not so bad.
It was also named the worst film of 2010.
It's like only a couple of things, a couple listings.
I said, if they just, even if they'd have done some of that right, it would have been better. But man, it's not just a bad source conversion; it's a bad film.
Hello, welcome back to Cinema Rebooted. Tonight, we're watching the cinematic masterpiece, The Last Airbender. In 2005, Nickelodeon produced the highly acclaimed animated series Avatar, The Last Airbender, following the tales of Aang, the last airbender in the world, and his gang of friends as they go up against the Fire Nation and Fire Lord Ozai. The series was extremely popular, and in 2000, while the show was still on air, they began to have talks with M. Night Shyamalan about making a live-action adaptation of the first season. There was also plans for a sequel for the second season and third season of the TV show. Production began in 2008, filming began in 2009, and finally we got, in 2010, what critics have deemed unwatchable garbage. I'm so glad that we're going to watch it today. The film was panned for its screenplay, its acting, its character, its faithfulness to the source material, its CGI, its action sequences, and the story in general. Overall, a winner. Personally, I have not seen the film, so this is going to be my first exposure to what is widely regarded as one of the worst movies of all time, sitting at a 6% on Rotten Tomatoes. However, my two faithful co-hosts have seen the movie. DJ, what do you think of the film?
It's pretty bad. I'm saddened because it was really exciting at the time. I remember, like you said, it was made when the production was still running on the original series, and it had a lot of hype, it had a lot of things, and then the trailers, they made it look decent, but even then it was a little concerning, but we were excited anyway, and then we watched it, and yeah. Noah?
Well, I think it's a fantastical, imaginative, intense movie that was written by kids. That's why kids is up there. Not because it's a kids movie, it's because children were half asleep. And they're like, this is how Avatar happened. And that's why this movie was made. And I will always stand by that statement.
Alright.
Oh, man.
Alright.
Shyamalan was a puppet of the kids.
A puppet.
A puppet of the children.
Then again, kids could write it better than he could.
Children of the corny movie.
Seriously.
Alright. Without further ado, I'm going to have to spend some of my hard-earned money to rent this piece of garbage. Hopefully we can actually finish it. That's another thing, too. I don't even know if we're going to be able to finish it. If something is absolutely unwatchable, even though we are going to curb stomp it, we might not finish it. I'm not going to lie. So without further ado, goodbye, $4. I could have spent you on anything else. Please don't create a virus in my PlayStation.
John, the movie's a virus.
The movie's a virus. Oh, jeez. Now all my recommendations are going to be thrown off by this.
I'm just going to keep eating this and pretend like this movie can't hurt me.
Pretend?
It's too late, I'm already hurt.
Starting off great.
So far we've got snow, fire, and ice.
There's only 2 elements.
No, you got the other two. The oxygen leaving your lungs and the earth that you're going to get buried in to get away from this movie.
100 years ago, all was right with our world. Prosperity
Forgot the
and peace
music.
filled our needs. Four nations, water.
No, here's what's missing. She should have just said water, earth, fire, air.
Respect was afforded to all those
100 years
ago.
The Avatar was the only person born amongst all the nations who could master all four elements. He was the only one who could communicate with the spirit world. With the spirit's guidance, the Avatar kept balance in the world.
Did she just say Avatar?
100 years ago.
Yeah.
He just
Oh, it's good.
disappeared.
How they pronounce things, it's legendary.
Disappeared just doesn't sound as good as vanished for some reason.
When the world needed him most? No, he vanished!
No, when the world needed most, he disappeared. Ugh. It's like a bad taste in the mouth. Oh.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It worked better that time.
Soul?
I thought about Mom. Isn't it strange?
Yes, this movie is strange. I want it to stop already.
Yes, sir. Stop doing that stuff around me. I always get wet.
It's like a stiff board.
I always get wet.
Like, I didn't even want that. He just like crumples over to her. He like has his fist and he just crumples away like, I hate wet. He's like Anakin. I hate water, especially wet water.
Food is scarce.
Or that's sand, sorry.
I hate snow. It's so coarse and grainy and powdery and cold. It gets everywhere.
Unfortunately, my brother's not the best hunter. He's the only hunter in the village.
Okay, what you get?
Are you sure?
What was that cut?
What was what cut? What movie? Are we watching something right now? My eyes are blood, they're gone.
Wow, that is some great blue screen right
And
there.
the background is nothing where they just came from.
What?
Oh my gosh, it's already bad. The cuts are terrible. Stop
I
it!
saw the thin tracks are more indented. That shows you which direction they're going. I saw how long the drag skids are. That shows you how fast they're going.
Are you on cocaine?
I think so. You see him twitching like that?
They're right here. They're right here. They're definitely here. I know.
That is not how you use a boomerang, but okay.
What do you think was gonna happen? See, much better.
They live their entire lives on ice. Hey, let's smash the ice.
Yeah, like accident makes sense. Him deliberately hitting against the ground and be like, what? You hit ice and crackers?
Did you see that? Did you see that ball just popped out of the snow? Like
Oh my gosh,
crazy.
it's Darth Vader.
Like I said, the Star Wars scroll. Da, 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 da.
I'll do some firing shit. Just back away, really slow.
Okay, I need to be that person. Okay.
Sorry about that, guys. We had some technical difficulties with this video. We had about 10 minutes of footage and stuff. We watched the entire thing, did our normal chit-chat, and we did a summary. We did our goods and our bads, and we did the fake thing. I did an awesome outro. It was amazing. It was epic. I started shooting fire out of my hands, unlike any of the firebenders. It's pretty sick. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. So, not that we don't like you guys, not that you're not worth it. This movie isn't worth it. So we're just going to go ahead. We're going to have an abbreviated version of our back end here. So DJ, if you could give us the summary of how we rewrote The Last Airbender.
Well, a big discussion that we had is that this thing was too short. So the first thing we do is we extend the movie to 3 hours because it's just not enough time for these characters their due. And we open up 30 minutes in the Southern Water Tribe. We give Aang time to develop. He's fun and interesting and happy-go-lucky and silly and funny like he is in the show. And you give him character that's antagonistic to the seriousness that Sokka and Katara have to because of the situation they're in. Give it that good dynamic, and as you get to establish his character, that's when the Fire Nation comes in. Zuko shows up. That goes the same way, and everything I'm describing, assuming the acting and the scenes are better. So, happens the same way. Zuko comes in, brings everybody, takes Aang to his ship. Aang escapes. They then leave. A major point is that the characters actually talk to each other. There's not these exposition jumps randomly. They actually talk as they're going to where they want to go. They go to the Southern Air Temple. Aang learns that it's been 100 years. All that goes the same. Then they go onwards, and from this point on, you're actually showing the map of the Avatar world so we understand where they're going, which nations they're going to, which areas they're going to, so we understand what's happening. So we do that. We follow them to the little Earth village that's under siege, only they are actually in a real metal prison. And the earth bending is far more believable, and the fire bending is more believable. This is also all assuming that the firebenders can all firebend actual fire rather than just swinging around existing fire. So the action sequences, everything is a lot more tense up to this point. Then they go to the next stop is Kyoshi Village. They meet Zuko for the second time. That's where they run into him. The Kyoshi warriors help them out against Zuko. Now they have more characters that they've met. So now they have the young boy from the village who actually has a name, and the Kyoshi warriors. So we're building a repertoire of characters that we understand. Now we move on, and we have another little montage of them moving through the Earth Kingdom, and then they end up at the Northern Air Temple. That goes the same way. He gets ambushed. Zuko saves him as the Blue Spirit, and everything there goes the same way with a little bit more actual real acting, and they get to the point where they're going up to the Northern Water Tribe, and that's where they go, and that's where they finish. So this whole section of the film, the first 30 minutes is that, the last 30 minutes is the Northern Water Tribe to end cap, and all the rest of that happens in those 2 hours in the middle, where they're developing the characters and they're meeting allies, and there's actually intensity here. Then, and now that they're in the Northern Water Tribe, you have a whole half hour to establish the end of the film. They have time to build up character development with the princess, and they can go back and forth between them and Aang training, give it more time to build up. And then Zhao comes in with Iroh, and they take the whole thing that goes down in the little pond area where the fish are. That is where the moment Zhao shows his true colors. It's not Ozai that's like the big master plan necessarily. If he is shown, he's shadowy. Zhao is the villain. He is the face, the antithesis of Aang. And Iroh tries to stop him, he kills the fish. That becomes a major moment. Iroh then fights back against the other firebenders, and that shows the trust between him and the other characters, that maybe this is someone we can trust, and they can move on to the princess saving the fish. And it doesn't have to happen so fast. You can kind of let things move. They can still move quickly, but they don't have to feel rushed. They don't have to be shoehorned in. These things can happen naturally over time. And then the end is Aang destroys the ships. He doesn't actually just threaten them. He actually blows them up and forces them to leave. And then everybody recognizes his power, and that ends. And then the ending can be the same as it was. Ozai's not actually shown, but he's there. And Azula comes up and he's like, you need to be ready to take over the next set of the journey. And that's it. Our movie finishes the same way. It just won't feel so rushed, feel a little less padding. And you can get through the moments. And And the cutting, we would fix the cutting so that it would be smoother in the transitions. There would be that map transition rather than just suddenly there, suddenly there, suddenly there. It would be smooth, clean throughout. That's it. That's our film.
Sweet. Awesome. So we're going to move on to our next section where we have our positives and our negatives. Noah, if you would start positive of the
I would
film,
love
negative.
to be honest. My negative is the film as a whole. I'm just kidding. I wish I was kidding. So the major negative I had is the character depth. I love all the characters, and you just don't get to see them. They're just all stick figures, and I hate that. I wanted character depth. I want emotion. I want to understand and care about these characters, and I feel like it's a missed opportunity. For honestly, the one really cool thing that I actually, because it's a split second too, is when they like shoot the fire out of the super cool fire cannon, and like you got the lizards actually looked cool despite Appa's horrific visage. The lizards were actually pretty cool. And that one split second scene of like the lizards climbing in and then like the fire blowing, like okay, that's actually cool.
It almost shows you what it could have been.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, if the movie was like that, I'd be like, alright, cool.
Yeah.
So I got.
Awesome. DJ?
For me, again, bending. Bending was garbage. Just, it took me out of the film. The acting is bad. Some of these other things are bad, but the bending, I could have forgiven so much if the bending just wasn't garbage.
Yeah.
Just give them the abilities, even a tenth of the abilities from the show. The amazing things that and it being not really clear that it's part of their culture.
Yeah.
And in the show, the bending was part of their culture, their industry. Amashu is a great point in the series where they show how the bending affects their world. Like they have machines and things that are built up bending. Bending controls the fire ships, the Fire Nation, the Water Tribe, the way that, and they do that a little bit where they make the wall come down to let them in and put the wall back up. There is a little bit of that, but it doesn't show that the bending is part of their culture, their industry. It's so integral to who they are. Their combat, everything revolves around that ability to bend. And half the movie is them just sword fighting, and it's not, the bending when it does show up is so weak and terrible. And the scene where the 18 firebenders are doing their super dance and send a single rock hurts. It hits so flat because it's like one bender in the show could lift mountains, and you got 5 guys moving a rock, and and it happens so early in the film, it sets the tone for the bending. It hurts. And for good, I agree with you a little bit. The ending stuff was cool, but I still like the idea of the firebenders not being able to bend fire if they just done it better. If the firebending had still been really cool, but they relied on that, it could have worked. But all the bending's bad. It's so bad that the firebending, the Fire Nation only wins this war, or is winning this war, because they are not as bad as everybody else. And that is what hurts so bad. The bending is just... It's so bad that the good parts of the bending, what few there are only that because they're just not as bad as everything else. That's the whole movie is not as bad as everything else. What is... If something is not as bad as everything else.
Is that our fake title, not as bad as everything else?
Not as bad as everything else.
Well, the other thing is that it is actually devastating how bad the bending is, because bending is what made the show so interesting to begin with. It is the unique property of the show.
And not just the amazingness of the bending, the intricacies of bending. It's like if a world was full of superpowered people, like in My Hero Academia. Like, people use their abilities to do daily things. They integrate their abilities into their daily lives because it's so common.
Yeah.
Not everyone is a bender, but there are so many of them that it is part of their culture to the point where it is integral. Without benders, the society doesn't even work. And that's just lost.
Yeah. All right. Positives and negatives for me. There's no positives. I honestly, I
understand.
Yeah, like watching it the first time through.
I had to think really hard.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's what, a 2-second scene?
I picked something that I liked because it was interesting, not because it was necessarily good. It was just unique to the film. It was uniqueness to the film.
Yeah.
That's how hard we have to dig.
Yeah, like for me, there really wasn't anything that was so redeemable about the movie. There's not a single part that I really enjoyed. I didn't like any of the characters. I didn't like how they were portrayed. Storytelling was bad. The acting was bad. The action was bad. The bending was terrible. Like it's just a bad film.
Yeah.
Like through and through, just a bad film. So I really can't say that I have one thing that stuck out to me that was like really great. Bad. The fact that the little things are missing from all the characters. The fact that all of our characters are the exact same block of wood with different faces. Like the fact that we don't really get a lot of the intricacy with Zuko. We don't really get like his tragic backstory and his whole story. Like we don't get his tragic backstory and the fact that he's like wrestling within himself, where he's on an impossible task to reclaim his honor and to get back to a life that he doesn't necessarily really love. And the only person who's with him...
His dad sent him on a fool's errand.
Yes, his dad sent him on a fool's errand that literally nobody had been able to find the Avatar in 100 years. It's an impossible task. And the only person who went with him is his uncle, his weird, kooky uncle, Iroh, who's this weird guy who seemed to be important to the Fire Nation for a while, but has this black stain on his history. And later we find out that he's just this absolute, like, monster, the Dragon of the North guy. So, like, Iroh, you're missing that kookiness. You're missing the fact that he does these little weird things, because he's literally just trying to make his nephew's life better.
Yeah.
We don't really get that. Sokka is missing his courage, his bravery, his goofiness, and his strategic mind. That really is what made Sokka an interesting character. He can't bend, he can't do all these different things, but he is still a valuable and useful member of the team. Katara is, she kind of gets a little bit annoying at times with the fact that she's kind of the mom of the group, but she is this girl who takes on the responsibilities of keeping the group together and making sure that they stay on task and they stay on track. And she grows as a character through that by like calming down a little bit and starting to realize that I can trust everybody else and I don't have to micromanage everything.
Yep.
And then Aang, like one thing that's missing from the entire film that you don't really notice, but then you kind of stop and think about it. Aang never does his air scooter. He never does the thing that is so cool about the show. It's literally like in the intro of every single episode. He does the little air scooter thing. It's part of the reason that he even has the tattoos and he's mastered airbending. He literally made his own technique and he made games out of it and he did all these different things, and it's a major mode of transportation, and it's something that he uses in his fight with Zuko and in his fights with different characters and stuff like that. I think he even uses it against Ozai at some point at the final finale.
He does, yes.
It's a very small thing, but you notice that it's missing.
I don't know that it is though, because there was one thing that I think I felt, and I realized that now, that was missing from like the beginning of the film, besides it just kind of rushing, was when he fights with Zuko and all that stuff, he just kind of flips over them, blows a few guys and leaves. There's not that master level skill. He's a master airbender and he looks like a novice. That ability to create a unique skill and thing is very integral, and another thing that time padding would have helped, like giving a little bit more time to develop that.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard. I have to say, it's almost an impossible task to turn that entire series into a film. But there are things you can skip and make it work. You just have to focus on these characters that are shown right here. And Sokka, like, give Zuko more, give Aang more, give Katara more, give them a little bit of development. And I can't even imagine how he would have done a sequel with Toph and some of these other characters that are so
It's Toph, because it sounds like tough.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is that, like, watching this movie, I couldn't imagine him making 2 more movies. I couldn't imagine how this series would have turned out.
Nope.
Just, it's just a bad
The other
movie,
idea
it's a bad film.
that Noah had was to just make it 6 films. It was like do 2 films per season. That would have been hard to do with the first season because there's not really a midpoint that's epic unless you did the Kyoshi Warriors as a major, like the end of the film, like the big battle with them was the end. That could have worked a bit harder, but the second and third films have great midpoints with major plots. The second one, Amashu, and like Toph and Amashu is Amashu having been kidnapped, and then them going to find Toph is a major point, and you can end there.
So next thing, what's our new title for our film? For me, I say Avatar.
It's fair.
DJ?
Noah, you go next.
Bender with a question mark. Bender? Or better, bending with a question mark.
Bending with a question
Bending?
mark.
Is that what that is?
Oh my gosh. The last.
The last. Period.
It was going to be the first of many, but instead it was the last.
The first and the last.
First and the last.
All right.
What was it? Not exposition, but it's so bad. There's so many names I could give this thing. It's so bad. Go ahead.
It's just a terrible movie. If we're just being blunt and just being honest, there's not really anything redeemable about this movie. The series is amazing. If you haven't seen the series, watch the series. If you haven't seen this movie, save yourself.
Yeah, good for you.
Watch the series. That's the better film. Watch the series. Pretend that this never happened.
Yeah, pretend
That's
that
what
this
I
never
did
happened.
until we had to watch it.
So yeah, that's the thing. Like, this is cinema rebooted. It's not a cinema review. It's not ahead of the curve. It is a curb stomp. It is an absolutely atrocious film, and
I took care of it myself. Actually, I went out back and I didn't stop. I couldn't stop myself, man.
So yeah,
Shroud it and beat it till it dies.
That's right. Beat it until it dies. So M. Night Shyamalan, if you watch this at all, you owe me at minimum $4. I want my money back, and otherwise I want my $43 million for emotional damage and the fact you wasted 104 minutes of my life with garbage. Anywho.
Ditto.
Ditto. Yeah, if you actually enjoyed this movie and you actually like this movie, we don't want you on this channel because you
See a therapist.
you have
some
serious
unresolved
emotional
issues.
problems. You have mental problems if you like this movie. Otherwise, guys, go ahead, leave your comments. Let us know, like, what did you like about our review? What do you think was interesting about this? Maybe what did you like about this movie? What did you not like about this movie if you have seen it? Go ahead, leave those down in the comments. Let us know what kind of movies you want to see us watching, different projects and stuff you might want to be interested in us doing. Otherwise, like, comment, subscribe, you know the deal. Tell your friends. Otherwise, we'll see you guys in the next video.